Good morning and welcome to Better Thyself segment of Dr. Lamba's Awakening Call. We know and each one of us wants to progress. However, to make real headway, we need to have a personal disruption. Questions are often asked, what is personal disruption? It is in its sense a change supplemented by a cycle of learning. I call it a three-step action: learning, leaping, and repeating. And as a matter of fact, without effective personal disruption, no progress is possible. The question might be, is disruption always necessary to move forward? Let's assume things are going fine for me. Then what? The concept of disruptive innovations was earlier linked to the products. To me, at its simplest, it's a little silly thing that takes over the world. Look, the telephone took over the telegraph. The light bulb replaced the ordinary lamps, and so on. Recently, the new car makers are disrupting the old established ones. Netflix disrupted Blockbuster, and things are going ahead. But is it applicable to products? No, it's also applicable to people. And personal disruption is how you take all these ideas and make them meaningful. It's like the child's game, snake and ladders. You can start at the bottom of the ladder and work up slowly and steadily, then jump to the bottom of another ladder and then go on. So you can be a disruptor at the bottom of the ladder, or alternately, you can disrupt yourself at the top of the ladder. That's your choice. But that is a must. The latest example I'll give you, Lady Gaga. You all love her. In 2008, she was at the bottom of the ladder, and then she rises to the top of the chart. What does she do for an encore? She doesn't keep doing what she was doing. She collaborates with Tony Bennett on a jazz album and does a sound of music tribute to the Oscars. That is disruption. I take personal disruption framework in the shape of an S, starting at zero and going to the top, and then a plateau, again going up. So, what is a framework? What should you do, and how do you leverage this framework? First is you have to take the right risk. If you do not take the risk, you can never have personal disruption. But I said right risk. I didn't say gambling. And when you take the right risk, you know what is it there for you, what are the risk factors, how can you mitigate the risk factors. And when you are aware of the risk beforehand, you can always take remedial steps. And that is what is most important, taking the remedial steps and then going forward. Is that enough? No. The second step is the second one: play to your distinctive strengths. Each individual, each individual has a certain strength. At some point, most of us have completed a personal assessment and at a 360-degree review. You might take a personality quiz. Even with the various tools and assessments, it's not so easy to assess your own strengths, but you need to do it. It's like a SWOT analysis. If you don't know your strength, if you don't know your weakness, how can you exploit the opportunity or meet the threats? Now, here comes psychology. This part of your makeup is reflexive, automatic. Most of us are often blind to our greatest strengths. Being blind to your weakness is something which can be tolerated, but being blind to your distinctive strength, and the people who say, well, he's egoist. In fact, the egoist of person who has assessed his strengths and knows on what he can play. Because in the crisis, these strengths can leap to the surface and become more obvious. And you cannot be disruptive if you don't play your strength, and you can play only if you're aware. So playing your strength is important. Just say, back in 2020, you can identify areas where you play to your distinct strengths. They likely have been specific ways. The new challenges that all of us face, new realities at work, children being homeschooled, attending the mental health of yourself and your family, missing the traditional milestones, unable to go to the social gatherings, unable to go out for tours and excursions and holidays. That you could meet that challenge because of the innate strength. You did not fall into a cesspool of disappointment. Rather, you began to develop new skills and strengths that were previously not required. So, first is take the right test. Second is identify your distinctive strength and then play that strength. Third one, embrace constraints. As a matter of fact, each constraint should be a tool of creation. Basic human interaction at the grocery store, at the coffee shop, in school, college, at work, in a religious place, wherever. That human interaction was given in our lives until it was not. Things changed. People with whom we interacted face to face suddenly became two dimensional faces on a screen. The small talk, the chance encounters, the informal gatherings, and the celebrations were all a matter of past. Managers had to quickly figure out how to manage their teams remotely. But then capable people took advantage of the change. They embraced the constraints. They took time to connect with their teams in a more personal manner. See, I know one manager, he would pick up the phone and check in for no specific reason with each one of them often. So they learned more about their work and a lot about them as individuals. As a matter of fact, working remotely made them much more human, and that's a complete gift. Is that enough? These are only three ones. The fourth is the battle entitlement. Sometimes when you think things should not be like this, I should not be treated this way. Quite possible it's a legitimate complaint. But if you're honest, often the complaint is not the result of critical thinking. It is one born of ego, and not ego basically, but of arrogance, I'll call it. We think we are due smooth sailing, that things should always go our way. That gives us a sense of entitlement, and that is damaging. And if you don't check your sense of entitlement, it will stunt your growth. So, again, revert back to what happened 2020. How did you battle entitlement last year? Businesses, schools, not-profit organizations, governments, faith organizations, you may name it. Everybody, everyone had to make decisions quickly and adapt, adapt rapidly to a fluid situation. The lockdown came like a thunderbolt, and the response had to be immediate. There was a lot of discussion and uncertainty. Many questions had to be addressed. Sometimes things worked, sometimes they did not. However, all the failures and all the successes taught valuable lessons that should not be lost or minimized because they are not unique to the pandemic, they are unique to the human condition. As a matter of fact, you have got to let go the sense of entitlement, and in doing so, develop your resilience. Understand that the resistance you face, you will also face in future. It's not a one-time thing. And these acts of resilience, born out of resistance, are tools of creation. They make you stronger. What strengths did you discover or uncover? How those strengths allowed you and your organization to play where others were not? Have you used your constraints for good? How has your resilience increased because of your focus having changed? And you would find that this would help you. This, this will help you leverage your personal disruption framework. And then you have to step back to grow. Retreat is an important part of any strategy, whether it's a war or a personal disruption. Retreat one step to go forward 10 steps. That stepping back enables you to grow, to reframe, to redevelop your strategies. And one thing, give failure its due. Failures are important. If you don't fail, then you're not going to grow. Failure are the stepping stones to success. They are not your hindrances. They are something which makes you what you are, a resilient, strong, capable Homo sapien. So you have got to see that failure is taken not as a defeat, but as a process of learning. And the last ingredient of the framework would be you have to be discovery driven. Now, what I mean by discovery driven is discover new avenues. They can be within you, they can be without you, new circumstances, new opportunities. So, when we do a SWOT analysis, one is a SWOT, O. O is for opportunity, and that is related to discovery. When you are discovery driven, you'll be more curious. Your sense of inquiry will be very sharp, and that will enable you to do something which people normally cannot do, to step over the failures, go to the next step. The first snake you have defeated, gone to the bottom of the ladder, reach the top of the ladder, go to the tail of the second snake, go to the top. So this process has to continue, and that would continue only if you are discovery driven. Now, this disruption framework, as I said in the beginning, is extremely important for you to go to the top. And top need not necessarily be in the material sense. It's your satisfaction. It is what satisfies you. It is how you perceive things. Money, status, they are important, but they are not that important that they should take away from you the sense of satisfaction, the sense of being able to do something which you had set on to do. And that is possible when you keep on disrupting yourself, your career, your attitudes, even your attitude. This disruption has to be a multi level process. Your personal, your social, and your career or your business, whatever it may be. But the whole thing has to be perceived in a manner that makes you achieve what you have set to achieve. And these 7 steps, which I have delineated in my talk, will enable you to leverage your capabilities and indulge in personal disruption, leading you to the top of the plateau. And then that top of the plateau is the start of another climb up. It's a continuous process. Keep it on, and you are definitely going to win. Thank you.